Hey everybody, welcome back to the Hardcore Fab Shop. Today's video, I'm going to be trying to wrap up the Jeep rod build. The last piece of the puzzle is the old hood scoop here. Before we can mount that though, I need to mount this hood ornament to the hood scoop, because that's going to be our final little touch there on this thing. And then, after we get the scoop mounted, I want to go ahead and try to fire this thing up and drive it out of the shop and try to do a little shakedown run with it and see how it goes. So, wish me luck. I'm going to go grab a drill, get started on this real quick, and we'll go from there. Pretty good. I don't have any complaints with that, and it looks pretty decent on there. I was trying to decide if I need to fill in the gap a little bit underneath the hood ornament or not, from that to the scoop where the body line of the hood that it was on originally has a little different arc than the scoop. But I think it looks good. I think it's fine. So I'm gonna go ahead and just stick it on here. I did go ahead and put a little bit of red Loctite on the inside here on the stud on the one because it kept unscrewing, and then on these little nuts too, so hopefully this thing doesn't vibrate off when it's going down the road. Go ahead and get these screws back in here, and I think we can fire it up at that point. I should go ahead and tell you that I have already fired this thing. I was starting to, or had video of it trying to start for you guys to begin with. I was gonna have that all here for you to watch, and when I went to go start with it to begin with, it didn't fire. So messed around with it for a little while and ended up not getting any fuel up here to the carburetor. I was thinking maybe this fuel pump's kind of bad because it was kind of looking crusty. Went ahead and blew a little air in the gas tank to kind of help prime the system a little bit, and actually got fuel up here and got it pumping. After we got fuel up here to it, then it started firing and it started running, but it was only running on like 4 cylinders, so wasn't running good. Ran it for a little bit that way, thinking maybe it needed to, pump up some lifters and stuff like that. Turn that back. So it did. After it ran for a little bit, it picked up a couple more cylinders, started running a little bit better and everything, but it still wasn't quite right. So went ahead and pulled the distributor cap. Went ahead and pulled valve covers and stuff and just kind of looked at everything. Everything seems like it was good to go, but we still didn't have, fire on this front cylinder over here. And then there's one over there that's, you can see it still doesn't have any color in it yet. What I ended up doing was pulling plugs and threw some plugs in it, or I tried to anyways. Got a set of plugs. This side's got all new plugs in it, and I believe this side's now firing like it should. That side, on the other hand, only had one plug that I could get out, that just the other 3 were just so tight in there, or are still so tight in there, that I'm really afraid that if I put any more torque on them, I'm just going to break this plug off. And I don't want to do that, because then we're talking about pulling the head and all that kind of stuff. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and fire it up. I'm going to try to drive it just a little bit. I'm not going to probably drive it too much since it's still, really not quite right. I don't think I'm going to do any damage to it or anything by doing it that way, but I definitely don't want to take that spark plug out, or I don't want to try to take it out any more than I already have. I don't want to put any more beans to it, because yeah, I don't want to take the heads off, and we don't have that much time left before show, and I've got other stuff that I got to do before we're supposed to be in Tulsa. So after the Tulsa show, if Brent wants to mess with it and wants me to throw the beans to her, I'll throw the beans to her, and it'll either come off and we'll change the spark plugs, or they'll break off and we'll have to pull ahead. So I don't know. We'll see what he wants to do after we get back from the show. But for now, I think we're ready to where we can try to fire up this thing and pull it out of the building. So I'm gonna go ahead and get my junk out of the way here so we can have a clean shot out the door, and we'll see what happens. Training fluid. We didn't have torque converter bolts hooked up to begin with, and then as soon as we got torque converter bolts hooked up, it sucked everything dry. So we're adding a little bit of training fluid, and so hopefully that'll make it shift. And the steering was binding up on the rod end right there at the dash, so Connor is loosening up that and moving it up a little bit so it's not binding and make it a little easier to steer.
Steering's a good thing.
Yeah, it is. Trying to get this nut loose. Might need a wrench. I'm buying another. Oh, there it is.
So you can't get a wrench in there.
How much higher you want it?
Quite a bit. Oh fuck, there's a hole there.
Yeah, there is.
That's probably good. Second time out, everything was doing a lot better until the little cheap zip ties that they give you with the fans they sell at O'Reilly's break, and we had the fan end up into the water pump. Got that fixed real quick and took her out for another try before it got too dark. Jeep rod is done, at least for now anyways, unless we bring it back and do some stuff here in the engine bay. But fab work and put together and assembly and all that stuff is done. So I guess be looking for the final video of this thing though. Just because I'm done doesn't mean the Jeep is done. Look for that here in the near future, because it's going to paint here in just a little bit, where they're going to do some cool artwork on this thing. And I'll give you guys a view of what that looks like when we get it down to Tulsa, to the show down there. I'll give you guys a walk around of it, and we'll do a final wrap up of this thing down there. So be looking for that. And I guess that's all I got for you guys on this one.